Psalms 82 and 83. Well, we've talked often about our relationship to Yahweh, that of loyalty, allegiance, which comes concurrently or operates concurrently with a lack of or refusal to worship created gods. We have not seen many stories in the Bible where God talks to these spirits. Well, I take that back. We had one about 2 videos ago in 1 Kings 22, where God and these spirits, or some spirits, had a conversation about how to lead Ahab into his own death, how to deceive him, actually. Very interesting story. And I have saved Psalm 82 to talk about this psalm until now because I wanted to go through the 1 Kings story as well. That Psalm 82 seems to be written a little later, but also because this is the second and frankly the most important conversation that we will see in the Bible of God talking to spirits. In fact, I have a commentary or a book about the Psalms called Soundings in the Theology of Psalms, and it's a series of essays, and one of the essays is entitled The Single Most Important Text in the Entire Bible, and it's a story or a detailing of Psalm 82. So let's talk about this psalm and see if you agree by the time we're done. Is this not the most important text in the entire Bible? Here's how it begins. Psalm 82:1. God, Elohim, stands in the congregation of the Elohim. The word there is Edah, E-D-A-H, Edah. It's a fairly common word, 149 times. It just means group, assembly. In fact, the Jewish Bible has the opening phrase, God stands in the divine assembly. So, however these gods are arranged in the heavens, it's as though God is calling them to court, and he's going to talk to them. In fact, the last phrase in Psalm 82:1, he judges among the Elohim. So God is about to render judgment on these beings. And let's see what he says. Now, before we do that, let's recall, in fact, I would go back, if you have the time, the video that I did for Deuteronomy 31 and 32 is very important here because that's where I review the story of Deuteronomy. It was in Deuteronomy 4:19, Deuteronomy 29:26, and Deuteronomy 32:8. And I review all those texts in this video, where God has apportioned or divided created spirits over the world and given them authority so that the world is being run by God's design through the authority of created spirits. That's just the way God designed it. And in Acts 17, Paul refers to this idea when he tells the Athenian philosophers there that the reason God apportioned our boundaries was so that man would seek Yahweh. So, going into the Psalm 82, of course, the story behind the story is that God has done this for the ultimate purpose that human beings, through the work of these beings, would love Yahweh. But let's see what God now says to these spirits. Psalm 82, verses 2 through 4. How long, God says to these spirits, will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Defend the poor and fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy. Free them from the hand of the wicked. What he basically says is, God does to these beings, is stop mistreating the very humans that I have created. Stop mistreating the humans I love. Here is the result of what has happened then. Verse 5, they, speaking of the humans, they do not know, nor do they understand. They walk about in darkness. And I think it's a good characterization. Paul uses this illustration in Ephesians 4, that the Gentiles of Ephesus are in the dark, and they don't understand this relationship that they're having to the spirits that they worship. Then it says, all the foundations of the earth are unstable. The Jewish version has, the foundation of the earth is tottering, as though the creation project is in peril. What God had created, the human creation, and then put these spirits over them, in this process, and because of the mistreatment of the gods upon the humans, the very project that God has created is in peril of collapse. Well, the verdict, Psalm 82, verses 6 and 7, the text ends, God talking again, you are gods. All of you are children of the Most High. In other words, I have created you to be my children, to use the family analogy, but you shall die like Adam. It's the singular form of Adam or Adam. It could be meaning then mankind, or it could be a reference to Adam. And I think it is a reference to Adam, because watch how the verse ends. You shall die like Adam and fall like one of the princes. The word prince in Hebrew, sar, can also just mean leader. So think of this. I think this is a reference back to the Garden of Eden, where when Adam died, he didn't tip over, right? He didn't stop breathing. He actually left the garden, but he lost his position of glory. Paul says this in Romans 3:23, all have sinned, referencing the garden, and have fallen short of the glory of God. I think the storyboard that we are drawing here is that God always intended for humans to have glory. That was the story that was going to happen from Genesis 3 and on. But these beings, one of them tempted Adam, he fell, and that glory was lost. And that's where we are in today. We are trying to recover the glory that we lost in Genesis 3. Now comes the story, or comes the understanding that these beings will die like Adam did, and I take that to mean they too will lose their glory. The verse ends, or the text ends with one more verse. Arise, O God, judge the earth. The word judge in Hebrew often has the sense of doing it for the purpose of saving someone. A judge will come into town and render a just verdict. God, please judge the earth. Save us as humans, for you shall inherit all nations. It ends positively. The psalmist seems to see God doing something with the gods that he has created to save the earth. Well, do you think this is the most important text of the Bible? I really can see the point. I do see that we have now turned a corner in understanding what is going to be happening in the relationship between gods and humans.